Запись пошла, вот видишь, вот здесь вот запись пошла.
Okay. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to join our book club. In Status Lingua, we have a number of events which we arranged, cinema clubs, Christmas clubs, where our students made fantastic performances, which you can see on our YouTube channel. If you are interested, I can send you a link for those of you who don't know that we have a channel on YouTube, and you can watch a lot of wonderful performances. We have arranged a number of book clubs and clubs on English and American culture, literature, art, music, because we do believe that when we learn a language, an essential part of it is to be inspired by masterpieces of culture, by films, books that we read, and many, many other things. And as now we are experiencing difficulties and we have this time of isolation, I would like to quote Ernest Hemingway, who said, "There is no friend as loyal as a book." So book is our true loyal friend of all times. And today we are going to share some useful information, something essential about the books we read, how we choose them, about well, book shops and book clubs and anything connected with reading. And I would like to give the floor to a dear friend of mine and a colleague of mine, a great, I would say, an excellent English teacher, Natalia Yurievna Ulanova. Natalia Ulanova is not only a talented teacher, but also the director of a beautiful, unique book shop for children, which is called Sova. And I'm a great fan of your bookshop. So she will be able to share with you something connected with the books that you can choose to read. After that, you will be able to ask any questions, both in Russian or in English, and you will be able to exchange some information about the books which you love and why you love them, so that we can have this fruitful exchange of opinions. And later we will reflect on that. Итак, два слова по-русски. Дорогие друзья, здорово, что мы собрались. Сегодня поговорим о книгах на английском языке преимущественно, но будет возможность задать любые вопросы или прокомментировать, или поделиться чем-то и на русском языке. Мы это абсолютно не запрещаем. Наш спикер сегодня, замечательный гость Наталья Уланова, директор книжного магазина детской книги «Сова», и наш замечательный преподаватель, который ведет наши самые разные группы. В данном семестре это группа Advanced и группа подготовки к кембриджскому экзамену FCE. И я хочу сказать, что здорово поделиться чем-то полезным друг с другом, чтобы скрасить свой досуг, чтобы получить пищу для души и ума, потому что действительно книги наши замечательные друзья. И я хочу сказать, что вот сейчас было предложение, о котором я слышала по средствам массовой информации, приравнять книги к предметам первой необходимости и разрешить открыть книжные магазины, потому что, да, книги с нами и в беде, и в радости, и нужно поддержать и книгопечатание, и те, кто продают книги, поэтому наша встреча абсолютно такая в рамках вот этого тренда. Всей душой я поддерживаю книжный магазин «Сова», могу показать потом множество мною любимых книг, которые я выбрала с помощью Натальи Юрьевны. Ну, а в самом начале встречи мы все-таки послушаем именно то, что приготовила Наталья Юрьевна для нас с вами. И если что-то происходит со связью, то просто нужно немножко подождать, надеемся, что отвиснет и вернется вновь, либо зайти снова по этой ссылке, либо если вдруг что-то кардинально у вас не получается, можно перезагрузить свой компьютер и снова зайти по ссылке, и вы попадаете в конференцию. Так, ну, судя по тому, кто нам добавился, все наши линки сработали. Okay, now the floor is given to Natalia Ulanova.
Hello, everyone. Happy to see you all here. So, as Vitalina Yakovlevna has already said, it's the first such occasion. So we are all a little bit nervous, I should say, but let's keep the fingers crossed and see that everything goes, well, smoothly. To begin with, well, I see that half of you at least have muted yourselves. I suppose there is a reason for that, but when I start my presentation, and I've got the presentation and like the classical meaning of the word, Google Slides, I will lose the chance to see you. So I would like you to, like, first of all, I'm going to ask a few questions, and if you have anything to contribute, you are welcome. So for this purpose, unmute yourself, and then I would be happy to hear some approving grunts or whatever, so just to make sure that you are there, you are following me, you are listening, all right? So don't be afraid to unmute yourself.
Excuse my interrupting you, Наталья, excuse my interrupting you. Can everyone hear Наталья Юрьевна? Все слышат Наталью Юрьевну?
Yes, of course.
Нормально слышно? Наташ, нормально слышно? Да? Ага.
Yes.
И, соответственно, когда Наталья Юрьевна, перевожу с английского, будет показывать презентацию, о чем-то вас спрашивать, разблокируйте свои микрофончики и реагируйте, чтобы мы слышали, что вы не ушли в астрал, мы вас видим, слышим и так далее.
Потому что на самом деле мы не будем, я не буду вас видеть, мы пытались сегодня, этого не получается. So I'd be happy to hear you, all right? So it's always a challenge to choose a topic for a book club, because like there are so many wonderful books, and no matter so how you try to narrow it down, narrow down the list to a certain number of books, so some books will inevitably be ignored, right? And that would mean to deliberately ignore a lot of treasure, right? So this time when we like came up with the idea, I started to think. So first of all, I believe in loving the things you're doing, or doing the things which you love. And I thought, so what is there that I love more than just a good book? Is there anything better than one good book?
No, nothing.
Yeah, no, there are lots of things which are better than one good book, and I would start with many good books, right? The more the better. Is there anything, I thought to myself, which is better than just many good books? It's of course a bookstore, right? So I love bookstores, not because I'm the owner of one, it's the opposite. I'm the owner of the bookstore because I happen to love bookstores. I think they are magical places. So here I would like to probably give the floor to you and ask you if you have ever been to a good bookstore, right? Do you love bookstores the way I do? Do you feel the same? Or have you ever been to a bookstore where you wanted to stay?
In every bookstore, I think. Because it's a nice place. I agree with you completely.
Right. It's like whenever I traveled, I spend, so some time in a bookstore abroad, always. I remember I had 3 days in Paris, so one day I spent for the museum, the other days just walking around, and I had half a day, and I stumbled upon a bookstore, and so I was lost. And somewhere on the 3rd floor of this bookstore, I thought, what am I doing, right? So that's my last time the last part of time in Paris. I'm spending this in the bookstore, but that's just me. I couldn't do anything about this. So is there anything which could be, so hypothetically better than a bookstore? Of course, so the more, the better, right? And I was lucky enough to also quite accidentally find on the internet a place which is called a book town. So a thing which is called a book town. I remember it changed my life, this knowledge. And I'm going to tell you and to show you the pictures from a book town, to tell you about what book town is, how they started, what's so nice about it, and so things like that, right? So now I am going to show you this presentation, right? Can you give me a few seconds to do that? So I'm like losing your side, so please react, okay? Well, before we start, in the beginning of our story, right? Can I call this a story if it is about books, right?
Yeah, sure.
So like quoting Lewis Carroll, I think. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Like mine is going to be a long tail, right? Have you heard this line? Yeah. Talking about the story of a mouse, like when tail is the last part of the mouse, and also tail is a story. So mine is going to be quite an old tale, and I'd like you to participate as well. So if you can see, that's a shot from one of the most famous bookshops nowadays in the world, in Scotland. And so it has the quotation here at the top. Well, before quotation, I would like you to show this thing. So what do you think it is?
Мышеловка. Mouse trap.
Mouse trap. No.
Do you have a real experience of dealing with mouse trap?
With mice? Yes. Well, try again.
I think it's some kind of laptop which was broken, or electronic book.
Yes, yeah, very close, right?
It's kind of phone.
Not really, but this is an e-reader, right? An e-reader, but which is attached. Yes, it's attached to this board. Looks like, remember, like if you've ever been to a hunting house or a house where the hunter lives, or someone who goes hunting, they put their trophies here, right? Like the heads of the, I don't know, hogs or deer or whatever. So this is an e-reader that the owner of the shop just shot because, so he wanted to show the attitude, what's the electronic devices and the huge bookshops are doing to the industry, right? To book sales, like paper books. Well, the attitude can differ here, because on the one hand, yes, we all love a real paper book. On the other hand, if there was no way to connect electronically, right, we wouldn't be here talking about them right now. Agree? So, but my question was, so the quotation here, old books are books of the world's use, right? And then we have just a new and don't have any ending of the quotation. So can you please think about this, and maybe at the end of our story, come up with the final part of the proverb, not proverb, but quotation, okay? You may Google, I tried and I failed. So probably you are better, you could be better at Googling than me, or you can think and try and continue the proverb, right? Shall we translate it? To know that we are on the same wavelength. So what does
read it out, Natalie, read it out. Yes. Read, old books, this one, yeah?
Old books are books of the world's use, and new, right? So old books are books of the world's use. Is that clear?
Yeah.
Can
right.
anyone try to
so
translate?
Старые книги это... Yeah.
Книги о юности мира.
Да. Старые книги это книги из юности. Да. О юности мира, правильно. О тех временах, когда мир был молодым. Right? Yeah. So can you think, keep it in somewhere in the back of your mind, and probably at the end of this story, right? At the end of the talk, we will get back to that. Okay? Right. So, well, the place I'm going to tell you about, here it is, right? It's called Wigtown, right? Wigtown is a small town in southwest Scotland that can boast now a proud name of Scotland's national book town, right? I call the presentation like a Scottish book town through the eyes of a bookseller or two, because one pair of eyes here will belong to the author of the book I'm going to talk about a bit later, and the other pair is mine. Since, like Vitalina Yakovlevna has said, for the last 9 years, I've been a bookseller here in Samara. So if you want, if you would like, I can tell you about this secret life of mine, right? Like Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde, but later, right? After I've told you about the week town, all right? So here in the picture, you can see this is how week town looks now, or maybe pretty much like it looked like 200 or 500 years ago, right? How did I stumble upon this knowledge, upon this small town? So by mere chance, I should say. So this is how it all started. Like on the 1st of January, 1918, the first thing in the morning, New Year morning, right? I was checking my Facebook feed and I found this post, right? So it was like the best New Year present. I had obviously been a very good person the previous year. So I got this information, right? The advertisement that invited anyone to book a room in a hotel with the opportunity to run a second-hand bookshop for a week, right? So that's the building, right? The bookshop is called The Open Book. Downstairs, there's the second-hand bookshop. Upstairs, there's the accommodation, right? So, though I had already had a bookshop by the time, right? But there can't be too much of a good thing, quoting Shakespeare. So I immediately started my research about the conditions, about the prices, conditions, as I said, tickets, etc. Right? And so first I checked the reviews, and though today on the slide I've got the very modern reviews from March, February, January, whatever I read 2 years ago was exactly the same. So all of the tourists gave this experience the highest mark. And of course, so I was thinking about immediately, like not only how to go there and try and run a bookshop, but how to organize the same project here, right, where I live. Because so my mission is to make this place a better world, and I thought that it's a wonderful idea. But so every tourist always commented on the people, right? So we loved every minute of our time in the bookstore and in Weektown, right? It's a glorious setting with open-hearted, welcoming townsfolk, right? Kindness overload of town people. And so everybody says like, the people are the thing we immediately fell in love with. And I thought, yeah, probably you could find a semi-derelict abandoned town or village in Russia, but where are we going to get these people, right? So we have to think about 1,000 of good people living right in a village. So first, then we will need to bring them up, and then maybe start the project. Right. So as you could see, the price is about £100 a night. It was the same 2 years ago. And the place was fully packed then. It is fully booked now, at least till next summer. And also in the reviews, I read that some people had to wait as long as 5 years. So can you imagine how, I can't say financially successful, right? But how popular the project is. So of course now, because of the lockdown, the place is closed, but this would only mean that higher demand will be there later, right? So would anybody, is anyone here interested? Would anyone would like to go?
Yeah,
right
I
now
think
at
so.
this moment? Mm-hmm. So how do you imagine running a second-hand bookstore for a week? Would you like that?
A challenging task. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
On the one hand, on the other, it sounds like a dream, right? It's only a week. you can do whatever you want, right? You can open or close the place, whatever you want. A lot of people say, wow, finishing up at 12 o'clock at night just because we could. That was so, so wonderful. So, if you want to read more reviews and learn to write a review, so this is booking, that's Airbnb. And on Airbnb, they leave this, I'm sure after this presentation, our big brother will offer you to book a place or at least to check it up, right? So the accommodation itself, I should say, is rather modest. So you see that's the staircase which goes from downstairs to upstairs. That's a living room, so purely very Spartan, I should say, right? So nothing all-inclusive, right? No frills, so just a living room, a bedroom, a kitchenette, so a very, very small kitchen. There's a bathroom here. When we talk about the heating, so that would be, you know, very British thing, or Scottish as well, like hot water bottles. When you put hot water in the bottle, take the bottle in bed with you to keep warm, so on. Well, no luxury whatsoever. But so now that we have seen the place with you, so let's get out to the town and see. So have a closer look at the town, right? So it's located, as I've already said, right, southern Scotland. The place is about 1,000 years old. There are mentioning of Wigtown in the 11th century, and it's really tiny. So its population is around 1,000 people, right? So that imagine what is 1,000 people. I think here in the building where I'm at the moment, my flat number is 201, so there must be around 10,000, and I have more floors above. So it's just the population of my building here in Tashkentskaya Street, right? That's the whole town there. But the most surprising thing is that there are 17 bookshops in the town, right? So how come? This question just puzzled me. I just couldn't understand this. Well, that's a Google view to you. Well, since the size of the screen, right, cannot offer us to have it like bigger, on a bigger scale, but even here we can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 bookshops, right? And there is one at the top part of the map, which didn't get into the picture. And when you enlarge it, so new and new bookshops appear. Bookshops, restaurants with book swaps, hotels, and so on. How is this even possible? I kept asking myself, because so I want to be there. And so when you Google Wigtown in Wikipedia, you see that it's a book town. You say, book town, really? Is that a thing? So a book town is a town or village with many used book or antiquarian bookstores. These stores, as well as literary festivals, attract bibliophile tourists. So, and some book towns are members of the International Organization of Book Towns, which also exist. And so this list here, when you see a list of book towns, it goes on, and down there, like 2 lists of the names. And so you can imagine, right, by the way that it, by the type of the tourists which it attracts, that it's not exactly Disneyland or a Lego town, or not Las Vegas or a Turkish resort, right? But it definitely has its own charm and attraction to book lovers, right? If you see the dates here in the list of book towns, so they started to appear mostly in the 80s as the kind of a way out of a difficult situation, difficult industrial and political situation. And so here I would say that it's a silver lining to Wigtown, right? It's immense luck. Well, I'm not going to bore you with all the 1,000 years of Wigtown history, but so it all started in the 80s, right? It all had a very, very bad beginning, bad start, but I mean, every cloud has a silver lining, and all is well that ends well. But so can you remember probably, or do you know, so what was the time like? What was the 80s like in the history of Great Britain? Do you know anything about that? The 80s. Well, when you think of the 80s in Great Britain,
economic crisis.
you have, you have to think like 90s in Russia.
Economic crisis, yes.
Yeah. So it's like the coal miners' strike. Yes, the longest one in history. Privatization. Then it was under the. Do you remember the minister? She was also the first, right? Yes, the first.
Margaret Thatcher. Margaret Thatcher. Yeah.
Yes, the first female prime minister in history, right, or at least of Great Britain, and she had the nickname. There was Thatcher, the milk snatcher, right? Milk snatcher is so because she canceled this free milk at schools for every child, and generally that was the type of running the social policy, probably trying to cut the subsidies and kind of letting only the fittest industries to survive. So implementing market economy, full scale, right? So for Wigtown, whose two main industries at that time were creamery. Do you know what creamery is? Cream? Does it ring a bell?
Yeah.
Oh, Vera, hello.
Milk products. Hello.
Yes, yeah, dairy products, milk and dairy products, right? And distillery. Do you know what distillery produces? Think Scotland.
Alcohol, whiskey.
Yes, sure, right, sure. So in the late 1980s, Thatcher's government stopped subsidizing railways, right? And to deliver milk to London, you need regular twice a day transportation, like morning train, 4 o'clock train. And before that, they could be able to do that, but when the like non-profitable railroads, non-profitable lines stopped getting subsidies, so they just got closed and decayed. So creamery closed first in the early 90s, and then I don't know why whiskey doesn't need to be transported twice a day, so it can last longer, doesn't spoil so quickly, but for some reason the distillery had to close too. Well, together these two employers provided working places for about 400 people, so it's like practically all working population in Wigtown at the time. So a lot of families had to move out in search of employment, abandoning their property or selling their real estate very, very cheap. And so the 90s were really, really depressing time for the place, but under the rule of Tony Blair, Labour Party, right, policy a little bit changed. So, and I think it's because Tony Blair was born and raised in Scotland. So under his rule, not reign, but rule, right, Wigtown appealed for the national project of book towns. First of all, the project appeared, right, to provide sustainable tourism, to attract tourists to the place and make them like bring money to the place. So Wigtown appealed, and because it has this rich history and scenic beauty and a lot of cheap property, they actually qualified for the name, right? And so in 1999, so the 90s was very, very difficult time, but in 1999, 1989, Wigton qualifies for a national book town with plenty of cheap accommodation for that. So you can see how the place looked when everything was closed, right? So the buildings were there for demolition because so they were partly destroyed. And so this is the town after the first, second, third, whatever book festivals were held there, tourists started to come, right? Not exactly billionaires or maybe even not millionaires, because the majority of places are second-hand bookshops, but just people who like browsing through the books, spend a nice weekend, and so on. Besides, the book festival is a very intense event, like packed with meetings, presentations, so on. Lasts for 10 days now, late in the autumn. So, so in 1991, as I said, first book festival was held. In the year of 2000, the distillery revived. The creamery never bounced back, but the distillery is there, and it's a part of attraction as well. So gradually the town bounced back, or may I say bounced up, because it never was full of hustle and bustle, but now it's a community regenerated through books. Right, so this is what it looks now, and this is what is happening in the town right now at the moment. So every day, or practically every day, there is an online event. So like on the 29th of April or the 2nd of May, today on the 6th of May, Wednesday, at 7 p.m. UK time. That's 22 Samara time. So we actually have plenty of time to sign up. And I have already signed up. So that's a literary pub quiz. Have you heard of pub quizzes?
No, never. Mm-hmm. What's that?
I don't know. So this thing that we have, like mozgoboynya and brainstorming and these things, that's a pub quiz.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that was all copied out. Well, since it is online, you need to bring your own bottle, or probably don't. So there will be a live stream of the legendary literary pub quiz. It's free. You just need to sign up, and so that you get a link to the same Zoom conference like we are having right now. So if you still feel like that, you're welcome. I'll be there for you, right? So the nearest event starts at 10 p.m. local time tonight.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Vitalina Yakovlevna, I hope you'll join me.
Maybe.
Right.
Sounds exciting.
Okay.
The thing is that I don't have beer, but I probably have some whiskey, so I can join. Because
it's better.
Because as far as I understand, you need a bottle. A bottle of what? Bottle of beer? Or
A bottle of anything. I think you can. You can put tea into your bottle. No one is going to check.
Yeah,
right?
probably.
It's the same
Good
color.
idea. Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Okay.
Well. Okay. So. Where I was. So let's take a stroll. So there's still time for sign up. And now I invite you to take a stroll, thanks to Google Street View, along the streets of Wigtown. So the first place is the place called Historic Newspapers, right? So they sell books, they sell original newspaper gifts. Can't even imagine what is this, so I would like to see this with my own eyes. Here we've got the Bookend Studio. It's called End because at the end of the street, right? And they also teach you how to make your own book. Then there's a post office, right, which also sells books, but I think we know this, right? Our post offices sell whatnot. This is also newsagent, confectionery. This is a place which is a cafe and also kind of a library and bookshop. It is called, if you can see, Reading Lasses. So you can read it as reading glasses, right? The glasses I'm wearing to see you, right? Or reading lasses, because a lass, what's that? It's a girl, yes, in Scottish, I don't know, in Scottish language or so just in Scotland. Yes, so if you remember the old film about a collie dog, which was called Lassie, meaning girl. So reading Lassie, something feminist, right? This is a modest bookseller, which is called M.E. McCarthy, right? Next to him is the shop with the wonderful name, the shelves creaking bookshop, right? Полки скрипят, ломятся. That's also a dream destination, the Box of Frogs. Who do you think the main audience is?
French?
Well, kids, of course. It's the bookshop for kids.
About French people.
And no, that's for kids. And the bookshop, right? This is iconic, right? The largest in Scotland. These things, you see the columns at the entrance. It's not real books. It's of course made of cement and just painted as books, because so this would be a I don't know, a bad thing to do to books, right? To use them, to crucify them in this way. Well, the bookshop is, as it says, first of all, the name, right? It's very amped. It's the Scotland's largest and probably most famous second-hand bookshop. It is famous because its owner wrote a book in the form of a diary, and it made the place and the whole story, right, famous all over the world. So that's the book I was going to tell you about. It is called The Diary of a Bookseller, written by Sean Bythell, the owner of the bookshop. He wrote it in 2000. No. He bought the shop in 2001. Here, you know, I would like to quote Sean himself, right? And to read a short part of the book from the very beginning, right? So how it all, when I first saw the bookshop in Big Town, I was 18 years old, back in my hometown and about to leave for university. So that was quite a long time ago, right? I clearly remember walking past it with a friend and commenting that I was quite certain that it would be closed within the year. 12 years later, while visiting my parents at Christmas time, I called in to see if they had a copy of 3 Fevers in stock by Leo Walmsley. And while I was talking to the owner, admitted to him that I was struggling to find a job I enjoyed. So young people after university, right? So they often have this problem. He suggested that I buy his shop since he was keen to retire. When I told him that I didn't have any money, he replied, "You don't need money. What do you think banks are for?" Well, here probably we don't know something about banks, but less than a year later, on the 1st of November 2001, a month to the day after my 31st birthday, the place became mine. When I took over, I thought perhaps to have read a piece of George Orwell's writing published in 1936. Do you know George Orwell?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The Utopia, right? 1984, right? It's not his only book. There was also Bookshop Memories, because he worked in a bookshop, used to work in a bookshop as well. So kind of a colleague, right? So 1936 rings as true today as it did then, and sounds a warning to anyone as naive as I was to the world of selling second-hand books. Because, so what is, do you have a picture of, so the idea of selling second-hand books, what does it look to you like? What does it look like to you?
The library.
Yeah,
The
right.
whole
Like,
reading.
Is it a busy place, you think?
No.
No.
No, it's like home.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah, right.
nice place.
You are sitting next to a fireplace, right? Probably also reading a book, but from time to time, a customer enters, ready to give all your money to you, right? For a single book that you have. So you pay the loan to the bank and enjoy life. Well, not exactly. So this, believe my word, right? Take my word for it. It doesn't look like that. No one wants to part with their money easily. And so the rent is high, the time is difficult, and so on. So the book is written in the form of a diary. He starts it on just from any date, which he took to start a diary on the 5th of February in this case, and then goes through the year, day to day, practically every day, saying what happened, what kind of funny customers they had, what kind of absurd things people are looking for, what he finds in this second-hand old books, and so forth, so on and so forth. So if the book was published in 2017, translated into dozens of languages, including Russian. There is one in Russian as well and online. And but I, of course, would recommend this in English because, so you've seen a part, right? It was probably the most difficult part of the whole book that I read to you, right? So do you think it's possible to read this in original?
Yes, I
Quite.
think so.
Yes. Yeah, at the B2 level, easy peasy, lemon squeezy. So, and the book was so successful that Sean had to write a second one. It is called Confessions of a Bookseller, which was published in 2019. Well, who would I recommend the book for? First of all, to a student of English, right? If you love books, if you love Black Books, have you seen the TV show?
Yeah.
If you haven't and you love books, it's a must, right? So it's like the masterpiece of English humor and dark sarcasm and irony and so on. So I would recommend. If you ever wanted to stay overnight or to stay forever in a bookstore, this is your kind of book. If you agree that good books provide you with a list of other books to read, films to see, some music to listen to, then Sean is your go-to guy. So like if you could see here, we can see Three Fevers, right? Bookshop Memories by Orwell. I downloaded this immediately. And Decline and Fall at the top of the text. So on the piece of the text, which is the size of your palm, you can already have a list of 3 books to write after you finish this one, right? So I would, I can't say that, you know, it's a haunting or a thought-provoking book that you are going to discuss with your colleagues or whatever. It's rather, it's more entertainment than some deep thoughts. But if you are looking for something bright to cheer you up in this dark self-isolation hour, right, this is your book. And the magic of the internet is that during lockdown, every day, Sean Bithell is live on the page of the bookshop in Facebook. So you can ask a question, you can hear him recommending the books. There is a book giveaway, whatever. So every day there's an activity. So you can get in touch, you can write him about my presentation tonight. Well, yeah, I was thinking about doing this myself, actually. So don't. And to crown this English part, or right, to finish it up, I would like to give 2 little surprises. So one for the Harry Potter fans,
Yes.
right? Are there any?
Yes.
Yeah, right. So yeah, right, good. I knew. If you follow Quidditch, right? So a man from Quidditch teams of Britain and Ireland, there is Wigtown Wanderers. So they come from Wigtown, right? The symbol is this, I forgot the special name for the knife, because they come from the butcher's family, right? So you probably have heard of Wigtown already, just without knowing this. And for those who visited our film club regularly, if you remember, there was film I, Daniel Blake, and there is a film about Ireland. Italian Yakina, help me out here. The Wind That Shakes Bali, right? Yeah, so Paul Leverty, yes, is a screenwriter. He's the favorite screenwriter of Ken Loach, right? And Ken Loach is the film director that we all love. So he was born in Calcutta, but he was brought up and finished his school there in the small place of Wigtown, right? This is I love about these small English places, that people value each other so much that even if you do a small and I don't know, not very valuable thing probably, but somehow you put yourself on the map, they will remember you. Well, if you are a world famous name, they will definitely put you there on Wikipedia. Any questions here about this part?
Dear guys, will you switch on your microphones? Yes, so that you are not mute, so that we can hear you. Ребят, включайте микрофончики, чтобы мы могли пообщаться. И давайте...
Yes, I switch on.
And let's comment on what you have seen. Yeah, maybe you have questions.
Oh, let me see you, right? I will stop the presentation for some time and go back to you because I want to. I was missing you, right? Terribly. Right. Hello. If I haven't seen you, hi, Kate. Right.
Hello.
Hi again. Right. So.
Let's comment.
Familiar faces.
Yeah, let's comment on what you have seen. Would you like to visit this village?
Raise your hand. Yes.
Yes.
Who's with me, right? Okay, so we will need like.
It's very powerful. I think it's possible.
Yes, right.
Maybe
not.
Yes, I think the only thing that frightens me that I have to put these hot water bottles in my bed when I sleep in Scotland. So this is the only thing that frightens me. And otherwise,
you have to choose a warmer place, warmer time probably. And then, yeah, we need to check other hotels because Open Book is booked. It's closed actually, right? So. Right. And
Нет, на самом деле, ребята, может быть, кто-то что-то хотел бы прокомментировать по-русски.
Как вы думаете, да, может быть, такой проект все-таки мы замутим как-нибудь? Реально, нет? Не знаете такое местечко?
Проект в России?
Да.
Книжный городок.
Очевидно, там никаких денег нет, поэтому мне он очень нравится.
Maybe in St. Petersburg.
Yeah,
the idea fits this city.
It's very associated with that intelligent atmosphere.
Right. Yeah. Besides, I know personally, I know a few people working in bookshops in St. Petersburg. Vitalian Yakin, you remember Masha Makeeva?
Of course,
Makeeva works in a bookshop there, if you remember.
We were in touch with her today, and she is really sorry that she can't join us, unfortunately. На самом деле, ребята, если кому-то, у нас разный уровень английского, есть те, кто недавно начал изучать со Status Lingua. Если у кого-то есть вопросы, так сказать, don't hesitate to ask if something is not quite clear. Может быть, что-то хотели бы уточнить. Ну, в любом случае, у вас будет эта возможность, может быть, в конце нашего вечера, нашей встречи сделать. Maybe any other comments? Any other comments on? Well, Natalia, does it mean that they sell only second-hand books? All shops sell second-hand books, yeah?
As far as I could understand, yes, the idea is to sell second-hand books. In Russia, this market is like practically virtually non-existent, right? So maybe something on the internet. So the shops that used to be here, I think they all somehow closed or I don't know, went online or whatever.
Maybe it will be the news for you, but we have a small cafe in near Volga, and
Yes,
they have
Coffee
a
Bean, you
lot of like books for free reading.
Yeah. This is like book crossing or book swap, right? When you take one
Very
book,
nice,
you put another, right? And I
Yes.
think they give, so if you bring like 10 books, they give you a cup of coffee free.
Maybe
I don't remember the number of the books, but okay. Right. So shall we switch on to
let's switch on to the next
part.
Will you say some words about your wonderful bookshop, Natalia?
Yeah. Sure, right. So I will go back to the presentation.
Because speaking about books, you know, book is always the best gift. If you have children, if you have your friends.
So I think you have seen this photo, right? That's us at the bookshop, right? And so holding a very interesting book, right? I mean, very suitable book if you are going to London. We will go in before this lockdown happened.
Me
and
too.
all this shitstorm happened over the world. But so let's keep the fingers crossed and wait till it finishes. So you can't find a better book, I think, to introduce London and the culture to your kid, like your brother, sister, son or daughter, or maybe a cousin, whoever. Nibblings. Well, it exists in Russian. The same copy is in English, so you can buy both and compare. And so, well, I have one in stock, and I'm ready to share. Well, but so since I believe in either selling all books in the world or in specializing, then I thought that I'd rather have a specialized shop for kids, right? So we do not specialize in English books, but being an English teacher, I couldn't possibly do without any English books. So we happen to have some in stock too, but the original idea, as I've already said, was to make the world a better place, right? Not to sell sell and resell something, but to improve the world. And so which means make it a world of book lovers, right? And I can't stress enough the importance of reading to and reading with the little ones, right? With the children. So it all starts, very often it starts in the childhood. I'm not saying that if you didn't read much as a child, you are not going to do it later on, but still there are some books which are better read in a young age, right? In proper age. So, well, one of the books that I personally clearly remember from my childhood is Alice in Wonderland, of course.
Just a second. Sorry to interrupt you, Natalia Yurina. Before you proceed to Alice in Wonderland, I would like to focus on this particular book. You know, the book is narrated, as far as I remember, on behalf of a lion, Trafalgar Lion. The lion, one of four lions.
Katie in London.
Yeah, this particular book which is shown here. So the book is narrated on behalf of a lion, and if you remember, the symbol of Status Lingua is exactly this lion, Trafalgar Lion. So what a coincidence. When I was in your bookshop, I didn't know about this book. I have never heard about it before, but this is just a kind of a book which can be also connected with the symbol of Status Lingua. Наш символ лев с Трафальгарской площади, один из 4 львов, он ведет повествование в этой книжке, и это действительно потрясающая возможность маленьких детей познакомить с Лондоном в такой приятной форме, шикарно иллюстрированной.
И статус Lingua.
И статус Lingua заодно, да.
Is it by Astrid Lindgren?
Status Lingua.
No. Is it this book by Astrid Lindgren?
No, who is the author, Natalia? Писатель кто?
No, it's not Astrid Lindgren. No, it's James Mayhew.
James Matthew.
Astrid Lindgren isn't about London, I think. It's about
Sweden, yeah.
Baltic countries, yeah, mostly about this.
Stockholm, maybe.
Stockholm, yeah, probably.
She has some stories also about Katie in different countries and cities.
Oh, really?
So maybe it's the same name.
Maybe.
Yeah, so you see, right, there's always a surprise in a book. Any book you take, there will be a universe waiting for you, and something, you will always find something new, something that you never heard of, never know, and so on. Right, so to the Alice, right, to Alice in Wonderland, right? Here, since I'm in the middle of the presentation, I can't have the show of hands, but I think opinions about Alice are often extreme, right? You either love it or you hate it, you can't understand anything, and you say, so what's the stuff, right?
And now.
Yeah, so which part are you? Do you love Alice or hate Alice?
I love it.
Is there anything who doesn't? I'm not going to judge, right?
I don't like Alice.
Yeah, so my counter argument here would be that if you hate Alice, I think you just haven't had a good Alice yet, right? Вас просто книжки хорошие не было, right? So look at what we've got here, right? Первое интерактивное комментированное издание. So I will read a few, so a passage from the introduction, right? В этой книге, ну, то есть здесь вы не только читаете, да, Алису, вот это путешествие в кроличьей норе, да, нет человека, который не знал бы, что она обнаружила там в кроличьей норе, но вспоминает ли кто-то о том, что осталось снаружи, о другой, невыдуманной, но не менее удивительной стране, викторианской Англии? То есть почему мы иногда не можем понять, что происходит? Потому что мы читаем эту книгу уже в отрыве от контекста. А ведь именно ее отражение викторианской Англии, мы то и дело видим в путанице и в этой веселой неразберихе сказки, знакомые Кэролу и его юным читательницам люди, события, мелочи повседневной жизни появляются там в забавном и порой почти неузнаваемом виде. Вообще комментированные книжки — это, конечно, совершенно отдельный вид книги, о которых стоит разговаривать. Иногда комментарий, ну, часто комментарий больше книги, иногда интереснее книги. И я помню, что Евгений Онегин в школе, ну, какое низкое коварство, вот это подушки поправлять, да, мой дядя самых честных правил, бу-бу-бу. А чуть позже, когда я нашла эту книгу с комментарием Лотмана, Боже, это же не оторваться, это действительно энциклопедия русской жизни, и понятно, почему это роман, и он совершенно открывается по-другому для тебя. Ну и здесь то же самое. Какой она была, эта страна, где верили в прогресс, мечтали строить дома из стекла, где так заботились о приличиях, что стесняли назвать ногу ногой, где все были так пунктуальны, что могли сверять часы по движению поездов, где ценили хорошие манеры и толстые книги с правилами на все случаи жизни. Все это стоит знать, чтобы понять, из чего выросла сказка Кэрола, кого узнала в ней маленькая англичанка, Алиса Лидл, для которой была написана эта сказка, чему она улыбалась, о чем задумывалась. В этой книге вся викторианская эпоха оживает в мельчайших подробностях. Строгие ее законы, милые привычки, новейшие изобретения, чудные предрассудки, сложные наряды, светские беседы, фальшивый черепаховый суп и настоящий крокет. То есть развертывается целая панорама времени на страницах книги, в которой сказочная Алиса встречает Алису Лидл. И я хочу сказать, она реально там развертывается. То есть вот если вы посмотрите, вот так густо, красиво, изысканно, иллюстрировано, портрет Виктории, королевы Виктории самой. Вот это портрет Алисы Лидл, дочки декана, для которой была написана эта сказка, для развлечения которой. Подробнейший историко-бытовой комментарий. Шрифт. Вот помните, я вначале сказала, mine is going to be a long tale. вот он, этот тейл мышиный между кошками, а стихотворение, ну, вернее, вот эта сказка мышиная в форме хвоста. Почерк, шрифт книги основан на почерке, разработан на основе почерка Льюиса Кэрролла.
I'm ready to buy. It's very interesting.
Yes,
I'm ready to buy.
Напишите в личные сообщения. Многомерное, объемное чтение. Что это означает? Это вот такая популярная сейчас штука, знаете, Вимельсбух. То есть книга, где текста мало, но картинка очень с большим множеством деталей, в которые нужно что-то найти. Вот, пожалуйста, сцена на вокзале и целый список того, что нужно найти. Найди девочку, которая обронила перчатку и так далее, и так далее. Дети, многие, не все, но многие дети это просто обожают, могут часами там соревноваться, всех находить и так далее. Полно всяких кармашков, которые забавы викторианской Англии, как, например, вот, знаете, да, тут с одной стороны котик, а с другой стороны тигр или усы длинные. Начинаешь вертеть, получается такой доисторический мультфильм. Колода карт для игры в веселые семейки, то есть все эти викторианские забавы вложены туда. В общем, действительно, книга очень интересная, и будет не секрет, наверное, сказать, что взрослые тетеньки покупают эту книгу себе, никому ее не отдают, читают, разворачивают и, в общем, зауютятся с одеялком и рассматривают. Тем более сейчас все остальное тоже можно погуглить, правильно? То есть, что не отрекомендовал комментатор, всегда можно найти, был бы путливый ум и доступ в интернет. Вот к тому, как разворачивается. Вот эта штука называется поп-ап, то есть, когда между страниц вот это объемное встает колода карт, когда Алиса переворачивает, да, стол в конце судебного процесса. So, that's only one of the books. I'm finishing the presentation. Let's going back to where you were. I wanted to show there is, if you are not ready to read this one, there is this one for small age children. Приключения Алисы в стране чудес, рассказано для маленьких читателей самим автором, то есть не какая-нибудь там любительская адаптация, а Льюис Кэрролл. Well, I wanted to, so if, again, if you have children, if you are interested, there is a book of, for example, English and Scottish poetry, wonderful translation, classical and very, very funny translations. I wanted to read you a poem, right? A limerick.
Certainly.
Do you know limericks?
Yes, sure. Mm-hmm.
Limerick is the form, right? It's a humorous poem with 5 lines, and first, second, and fifth lines rhyme, and lines 3 and line 4 rhyme with each other. So my favorite in Russian is, and I think very nice for this turmoil times. Жил-был старичок у причала, которого жизнь удручала. Ему дали салату и сыграли сонату, и немного ему полегчало. Do you know anything in English, probably?
Unfortunately not. Only in Russian.
Yeah, maybe.
I can do,
Yeah.
Natalia Yurina. There was a young cannibal called Ned who used to eat onions in bed. His mother said, "Sonny, it's not very funny. Why don't you eat people instead?"
Yes. Vera, do you know the Russian one? A Russian one?
I used to know plenty of them, but nobody crosses my mind just now. Maybe later.
Okay, right. Yeah, right. If you do, well, talking of later, remember the old books are the books of the world's youth, and new try to continue, right? And that would be impossible to show everything we have now. For example, there's Вы читаете нормально или тоже справа налево здесь?
Нормально.
Наталья Юрьевна, я бронирую. Вот это вот нам надо. У нас вся коллекция.
Продано.
Строим аукцион сейчас.
Yes.
Аукцион.
Да, кстати. Then I wanted to show you a travel guide to Russia in English. It's humorous, of course, for brave tourists only. So you see the bear, balalaika, everything in space. So it starts again with a bear in the traditional, I don't know, what is that? Decoration hat. Attention, hospitality, Russian hospitality can be dangerous, right? So this is all known for us.
Such a familiar picture.
A chapter about Russian smiles, right? So that a person who comes to Russia for the first time has to be warned, right? A chapter on vodka, right? So because it's important to know a few words. And for example, this one is, the first toast is za zdоровье, not na zdоровье, like all foreigners do, right?
А то я звоню, ну понятно, я звоню домой, никто трубку не берет, ага. Ну, ага.
That's why we need to mute.
Да, в общем, Мариночка, я поздравляю тебя с днем рождения.
Yeah, let's mute, or we will hear some intimate things right now. Can you mute people?
А я не вижу, кто это.
Мне кажется, что это кто-то в соседней комнате у кого-то, поэтому, но слышно хорошо, просто, скорее всего, это случайно.
Ну, вроде бы все, главное, ничего лишнего не услышать, да. So, chapter on Banya and so on, everything in quite good English, I should say. And, I mean, if you don't read books, and this happens, right, and nobody's gonna judge you because of this, I think that even reading subtitles for TV shows is reading, right? So if you want, if you want your children to read more, just switch on subtitles and mute the TV, right? Voila, they're reading. So we have the set of postcards, you know, about book. Now, so if you heard of book crossing, you probably heard about postcard crossing as well.
Yeah.
So this would be nice to send to your foreign friend, like in Book We Trust, or защитил докторскую, right? Ни у кого никто там не защищает докторскую. Or just this cool pictures, like a bear and a bird, or a bear and an owl, which is my favorite. This one I'm not going to sell. So actually, this is what I was going to present. I would say there are numbers, dozens, hundreds, or and maybe thousands of books. And if you, well, write to me. So the book is now, the shop is now closed, of course, right? So we are closed up to the 11th of May, or maybe longer, we don't know when. But if you want, you can write, you can phone. I can come with a box of books, so you can choose, buy something, or maybe just leaf through, remember. So let's keep in touch. And I want to come back to the presentation because, right, so there's one more slide to go through. Right, because I don't believe that any presentation can be complete without a photo of a cat, right? There must be one, so I put mine at the very end of it. I am happy to present to you, ladies and gentlemen, Captain. Captain is the bookshop's cat. He's of course named after a book character, and so here he's climbing up to he's in the bookshop by Sean Beisel, the same guy. And can you see in the background, it says, can you recognize it?
Russian?
Russian, yes, so that's a shelf or several shelves for Russian books. And I think if you put it, I can recognize Solzhenitsyn, for example. So here in Scottish bookshop, we can find Russian is the quotation. All books are books of the world's use. So any options welcome. I don't have mine, and I don't have the right variant.
I
Yes,
found
Dim.
a quotation.
Oh, I
and,
knew you are better at Googling than me. So can you please keep quiet then?
Okay.
Дима Маркелов?
Okay.
Дима Markelov?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Okay,
yes,
Dim,
yes.
welcome.
So you are the guy to Google then. We will refer to you when you need to find something. Well, anything? Any ideas?
I think the idea might be that the old books are the books of the world youth, and new books are the books of something that is connected to the or experience or something about the end of the world. I don't know.
Oh, the end of the world, right? Uh-huh. Dima, is it close? Close?
No.
No. No, okay, but it's a good idea, right? Anything else? Yeah, because like, have you read your books? Most of them are about the end of the world. Well, so I go back.
Okay, Dim,
Did you like Captain?
Give us the right number, answer.
Okay.
Yes.
And
We give up.
And the new books are the fruits of its age. I can send.
Cool.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, to the chat, right?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Oliver Wendell. Who is it? I don't know.
Okay. That's another. Could you Google, please? Here you have the name and the surname, right? So we can know all the answers. Right. So if you have any questions, or maybe Vitalina, over to you, right? So
No.
You can moderate.
No. Questions to Natalia Yurievna in English or in Russian. Comments. Did you find this information interesting or valuable? What can you say? Somebody is bombarding me with the SMS messages. I'm sorry. So Natalia Yurievna, thank you for a most interesting presentation. And I do believe that we learned really.
You're welcome. That was a pleasure.
Peculiar effects, and you really inspired us to find more information about the books to read and about the things in the world which can motivate us to become better readers, better learners of English. Thank you very much. На самом деле, давайте комментарии, какие-то вопросы.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, sure. Vera, yeah, you wanted to ask something?
No, Kira. It's Kira.
Okay. Natalia Yurievna, can I ask a question? Where is your shop located?
It's in Mega City. Mega City next to food court.
Okay.
So welcome.
Thank you.
Let's invent a code word with which you can come to the shop and get a discount, right? So can it be the bookshop, right? So if you say the bookshop, you'll get a discount there, okay?
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, but the shop is closed now because books are not the first.
Mega City is closed totally, yes?
No, Mega City is not closed, but books are not the first, so the most important things, though I could say, you know, before this self-isolation started, I was going to invite people to come and spend a quiet hour in our shop, because bookshops are not most crowded places on earth, I should say, right? In comparison with Magnet or Пятерочка, right?
It's really strange that you are not allowed to work, so it's not crowded. In that
nothing like that. No,
yeah, but
it's lonely.
It's not logical. Really.
What is logical, right? So it's Alice in Wonderland, right? We'll give you answers.
Ну, какие-то комментарии. Вам интересно было, так сказать, узнать то, что вы узнали сегодня?
Yes, it was a very motivating presentation. I'm going to read one to start.
Это здорово, потому что настолько, так сказать, информация. Можно я сейчас покажу еще несколько книг, которые я вот с помощью Натальи Юрьевны выбрала. То есть не только «Алиса в стране чудес» замечательная, но и...
О, можно флешмоб сделать.
Это, Я извиняюсь, у меня Алиса в компьютере подключилась, и я не знаю...
Не говори это слово.
Да, она сказала, она мне тоже нравится. Я не буду тогда произносить, смотрите, продолжение, да?
Та же самая девочка в зазеркале.
Не буду произносить, великолепно оформленные, с вот этими всеми секретами, которые открываются из самых разных страниц, да, вот они достаются, невозможно интересные вещи. И я хочу сказать, что это перевод Нины Димуровой, потрясающая, это книга плюс эпоха. То есть здесь вы узнаете, почему шляпник безумный, и почему алые белые розы, и почему Билл вылетел в трубу. То есть здесь подоплека на политику, на какие-то события в науке, искусстве Англии и так далее. А вот эта потрясающая книга, это... Посмотрите, «Приключения Шерлока Холмса» тоже вот, то есть книга плюс эпоха, вот эта серия. И здесь, например, где-то, так, где же мне показать? Смотрите, что открывается из книги.
Wow.
Да, карета. И таких,
Very creative.
да, таких сюрпризов здесь огромное множество. И картотек этих самых холмсовских преступников, и секреты, и так далее, и так далее. Смотрите, какие-то вот вещи, которые достаются, открываются, а там всевозможные картотеки и так далее, подозреваемые.
Вот это гадалка, наверное, в школе, помните, мы делали такие? Но мы делали, по крайней мере. Ага.
То есть я эти книги, честно, купила для себя и об этом не жалею. Вот. Хочу сказать про Алису, как важен перевод, понимаете, это перевод Димуровой, то есть он действительно интересный, классный, но говоря об этой книге, не буду называть ее название, чтобы опять не включился помощник компьютерный. Я любила также музыкальную сказку с песнями Владимира Высоцкого. И там был другой перевод, такой более похожий, когда Алиса упала в море слез, и для того, чтобы обсушиться, что может быть суше, чем лекция. И если в оригинальной книге идет лекция про Вильгельма Завоевателя, английского короля, то значит, в варианте Высоцкого там был такой момент лекции, который читала вот эта мышь, посреди застолья раздавался звук топора, которым Петр
рубил окно в Европу.
Да. А дверь
что, прорубил?
Нет, не прорубил. Так что, они так в окно и лазят? Кто? Петровцы, конечно. То есть вот это пример того, как книга была адаптирована, она была более понятна реалиям, так сказать, нашего...
Локализована, сейчас бы сказали.
Да, нашего читателя, ребенка и так далее. Поэтому, конечно, для того, чтобы полюбить английскую культуру и узнать что-то, можно вот приобрести эти книги на русском языке и сделать для себя массу удивительных открытий.
Вообще эта книга, она, конечно, непереводимая.
Да, абсолютно, да.
Ее надо в оригинале тоже как-то осилить.
Вот, поэтому давайте, может быть, сейчас мы поступим таким образом. Если есть кому-то из присутствующих, в течение 10 минут поделиться чем-то своим любимым, да, связанным с книгами, давайте это сделаем. Maybe you can say some words just about the book that you can recommend reading or that you liked reading. Let's do it. So, who can take the floor? Who can say some words about...
Vera.
Well, in fact, I'm not ready to speak.
I'm not making. I know you love reading, so...
You know, I could say something because, you know, my experience with books was difficult when I was a child because
Can I say that, Yes, so
yeah?
Katya was presenting at the bookshop, right? She's an artist and she made this wonderful presentation. So I don't know how to say. So we created an animal, a totem animal with her.
Yeah.
Right. So she was part of my project as well.
So it was a workshop, yes,
Yes, and it was a pleasure. And I love making illustrations. I love working with images. And when I was a child, I loved the pictures from the books. I didn't like reading a lot, but I enjoyed illustrations very much. And actually, when I grew up, I started to enjoy the text too. But I still have favorite illustrators, and I think I can show just one book. And the illustrations to these books are by Robert Ingpen. He's Australian, and I love the way he depicts animals and people too. And I just love the style. It's rather academic, but I love this series. And he also made illustrations for Alice in Wonderland as well. But I love Kipling most.
It's a taboo
because
word,
there are
usually.
so many animals. Yeah, yes, and so many animals, and I just love the soft texture of these pictures. So one of my favorites are these crabs. So like this. Yeah, I just love them. So, Robert.
This photo which is on the advertisement for our club, where Vitalin Yakin and I are hiding behind books. At the background, there are also books illustrated by Ingpen. I think Kipling or something.
That's cool.
Well, yeah, illustration is a very important part of the kids' books. Though I love texts, of course, but people who love pictures.
But it's important to have good illustrations. It's influence to choice.
Of course, yeah. Buratino, which I used to have in childhood, is the only true Buratino, right? Anything, because of the illustrations, the texts are always the same. But so my childhood pictures are right pictures. Everything else, second class.
I agree that it's very important element, especially in child books.
Yes, children books.
Good and kind illustration can attract a child. And for example, some awful picture can distract child from that book totally.
Yeah. I still remember a really frightening illustration from a book. I don't remember what the book was about, but the picture there was something according to the plot, so probably it fitted, but I'm still afraid 40 years later.
So. Yeah. You know, I remember the first text I enjoyed without pictures. It was the fairy tales by Brother Grimm, something like this. And this was the first text
They're
I could
scary
enjoy.
enough without pictures.
Yeah. So.
I always used to be a reader who prefers text to pictures, but gradually I developed taste to good book illustrations and even to graphic novels, as they call them now.
Oh, that's a new level.
Yeah. I have one favorite author of graphic novels. Her name is Yulia Nikitina. She's a very interesting person, in fact. She is from a small town near the White Sea, so from the very north of our country. It's not even Murmansk. It's something smaller, but situated there.
In the Arctic.
Yeah, in the Arctic. So she is a great artist. She learned to make illustrations to texts, and she has a great skill of storytelling using mostly the pictures. So the texts are there. She tells her story using the words too, but the texts are very laconic, and pictures are great, incredible. I should say. Maybe if you can wait a few minutes, I'll try to find one of your books.
Yeah,
do.
Yeah.
We will, yes. We don't need to, no one is making us to leave, right?
Yeah,
we are not afraid of public transport stopping to run, yes, so we can be here. At 22, I need to switch off to the pub, remember?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, well, in a few minutes I come
yes,
back.
sure, yeah.
Hope.
Guys, can you contribute, please? Anybody else would like to comment or to add something or to say? Actually, we have a very dear colleague of ours. At least I can see Елизавета Frolova. Are you here, Елизавета Vladimirovna? Are you somewhere near?
Yes, I'm here. I'm only listening because my connection is not very stable.
Oh,
I'm very pleased.
Yeah, it's been
so nice to hear your voice. We were missing you.
It's been ages. We haven't seen or heard you for ages. How are you doing? How are things?
To hear your voice as well. Unfortunately, I managed to join somewhere in the middle of the presentation, but I took great pleasure. Well, I didn't even know that such books exist with comments about the about the time when they were written, and I'm already thinking about buying such books. Well, and it was very interesting. The books are nice to look at. And I suppose they're nice to feel. But what is the nicest thing for today is that I can see you all and hear you all, and be in the familiar atmosphere of our nice communication, our Status Lingua and the club. So I'm very happy about that. Thank you for inviting me and my daughter. She's in the next room. She's enjoying all this event, and I'm very happy to be with you today.
Thank you very much for joining us. Can you give some useful tip or some piece of advice, or maybe what to read for those who feel like reading a new book? Maybe you can recommend the author or a particular book to read.
Well, actually, I can't recommend any particular book, some book with the peculiarity. Well, I like to read all the classics. And I like actually, when I have time, I read something interesting. And what is interesting for me now is to read the classics. Sometimes, I suppose it depends on the interests and on the age and on different other things. And so it's difficult now to give any advice. I can only say that if you have a spare minute, read something interesting for you, find something interesting for you and read. So you will never, this time will never be wasted.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you. Great pleasure, Liz. Great pleasure. Anybody else would like to comment or add something? Maybe, what about you, Dima Markelov or Dima Styashkin? Can you give some advice or share?
As for me, it was so interesting about Alice from Wonderland, because I can't remember. I suppose I didn't read these books, and I don't know why. Because when I was a child, my mom read me, and after that, I myself read a lot of books, and. I think Natalia Yurina gave us a lot of interesting information about these books and about books with special commentary.
Comments, explanations,
comments
right?
Other people, it was for me.
Yeah, I want to say that people who don't like Alice also very often are, so they maybe haven't read the book or didn't read this at the right time, but saw a film or a cartoon or something. But Alice is such a thing which evades adaptation, it evades screen versions. So I haven't seen a good one. right? Tim Burton is always Tim Burton, right? And so it's not Lewis Carroll, it's his own personality, right? And his view, and nothing to do with the book. It's a piece of art of its own, right? Maybe loosely based, but the Soviet cartoon also could never understand that. The Vysotsky record was magnificent, right? But also very loosely based. And the book is magic, right?
I can see about Alice too that today I opened it with the other side for me. So, and I didn't know that it was dedicated to really girls.
Yes, yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
Yes,
there's a
and
long
it was really interesting information for me.
There was in Oxford. He was a professor in Oxford, and so the Queen liked the book so much, and she invited him for. I mean, Lewis Carroll. He had. So Charles Ludwig Dodgson is his real name. Yes, Carroll is the pen name. And so the Queen asked, it's a famous anecdote, the Queen asked, okay, so I like the book so much, have you written anything else? And everything else that he had written by the time was very, very serious mathematician works, right? Even the titles were unreadable, right? Incomprehensible. So far from the fun that he presented here in the book. Vera, have you found the book?
Yeah. In fact, I have two of her novels. The first one is an autobiographical book about her childhood and how she became an artist, in fact. I just want to show you a few pictures from it.
Black and white?
Yes, it's black and white.
Graphic.
Yes, absolutely. Graphic. No book. She's, well, in English, they call those who create such illustrations graphics, as we do.
I suppose.
There are, yes, painters and graphics. So her first book is about becoming an artist. And the second one is about the expedition to the very, very north, to the ocean. She paints her pictures in color when she's creating real pictures to exhibitions and things like that. But her books are black and white. And this is the end of the book. I like this part. It's, well, like словарь of things you met through this journey.
Glossary, right?
Glossary, yes. A northern glossary with all these creatures and all these small, tiny, glowing things.
What is the age audience, you would say?
Well,
is it suitable for kids, or
maybe it could be a bit boring for kids, and especially for the first book, you need to already have some life experience. So it's a bit of, well, a confession.
Maybe for teenagers, no?
Maybe teenagers understand. But
yes, so there's a category which is called young adult, right?
Yeah.
So this is for a young adult, right?
For about 20, I think.
Quite young, and also adult.
So it's well, all about finding your own place in life. So it appeals young adults, I think.
Yeah.
Her relationship with her mother, her trying to find her own style. And I like the thing I like most of all about her work. It's very честный, I think.
Honest, sincere.
Sincere and honest. It's not these success stories. I'm great. I overcome all these difficulties.
Self-made woman, right?
Yeah.
No, I think the book that Natalia Yurievna introduced to us, about selling books. It is also sincere one, I think, because he's telling about. I read a piece from this book, and I can say that
Diary of a Bookseller.
Yes, the Diary of a Bookseller.
Sure,
It's
sure. He's very realistic about his place in life, about his success in life, and
I also wanted to show my favorite book. Not my favorite, but I like this book very much. It is by this artist Escher, and it is a pop-up book. And I just wanted to show you because it's so exciting when it is. It has some architecture inside. So
oh my God,
like this. And also. Wow. The pages are like
incredible,
and so on, like this one is also black and white.
Quite minimalistic.
It's very fond of illusions and some effects. So it is so cool because it is three-dimensional.
Yeah.
Yeah. And,
do you remember the bookshop where you bought it? Where did you buy that?
Oh, of course, but it was abroad. It was in Barcelona.
Yeah, right. So that's the best souvenir as well, right?
Yes, and it was so cheap. I just it was just a dream to buy this book.
Yeah. Right. Okay. Well.
Okay. So, anybody else would like to comment or ask questions or whatever? Кто-нибудь хотел что-нибудь прокомментировать, может быть, или спросить?
Can I say?
Yeah, sure.
Comment. Well, now I remember the name of the book. Actually, it's not a book; it's a story. Well. I suppose those who studied English professionally, I mean, at the Pedagogical University or Samara State University, we all read it.
Let me guess.
During the classes of
up, downstairs.
No. Isaac Asimov. The fun they had.
Дядюшка длинные ноги. Дядюшка длинные ноги.
No. Isaac Asimov.
Isaac Asimov. The fun they had. It's kind of about children from the future who find something like a book from the past. Well, from the far future, when they had probably distant learning, well, only computers and so on, something that we're starting to have now. Well, and they find a real book and start thinking about the times when children went to real schools, they had real teachers, they had real paper books, and they're discussing the fun that children had with real books. Well, I suppose this story is very important to be read now. Well, because of course the digital age gives us some advantages, but all the advantages that real paper books have and real communication, live communication they have, they cannot be replaced by anything else. So I suppose, and the language of the story, of course, it's brilliant. So I can recommend this book to read.
Thank you.
Can you repeat the name of the book, please? The title of the book once again.
The fun they had. The fun they had. I can write it. I suppose.
In the chat, yes, please.
The fun they had.
Yes, the fun they had. Okay.
Yeah, Isaac Asimov, right?
Yeah. Thank you very much for sharing. This is really valuable. Thank you.
So, do you think we have to make this thing regular?
Yeah. What do you think? Would you like another reunion of such kind? Would you like to us to arrange another event based on books so that we can share? Would you like to repeat it?
Yes, sure. It's very interesting. And thank you for Natalia. Thank you for your presentation.
That was a challenge for me as well, right? I mastered Google Slides.
And I was surprised about this book town. It was a new information for me. Very interesting.
Imagine.
I'd like to to read about it more.
Yeah. This association of book towns, they appoint a town for events every year, and 2021 is going to be Tbilisi. So if week town is out of question, then maybe Tbilisi in 2021 is more realistic. But of course, very often it's just a street or something, but very stuffed with events, a program really stuffed with events, like meetings, workshops, pub quizzes.
Right. Well, so we have to summarize, we have to come to an end. Thank you very much, Natalia Yurina. You called perfectly well, and you gave us lots of food for thought and food to digest. Yes.
Yeah.
And I would like to send in the end that with every new book you discover a completely new world. So you live a new life every time you open a new book. You sympathize with the characters, you struggle, you love, you hate, you experience a wealth of
Точно.
Спасибо всем участникам.
Давайте не слышать этого ничего.
Ну, давайте, до новых встреч. Спасибо за участие. Да?
Спасибо большое.
Да, присоединяйтесь к нам еще. Пишите комменты под тем постом, который мы анонсировали.
Кстати, да.
Пишите
давайте туда эти книжки тоже напишем, какие вот кто
хотела попросить как раз. Да, хотела попросить, чтобы написали список книг, которые вы рекомендуете, было бы интересно просто почитать.
Ну, хотя бы какие, о которых мы сегодня говорили.
Да, Наталья
Юрьевна, все выдадим, что мы в следующий раз будем
Наталья Юрьевна, можно под тем постом в группе, да, где был анонсирован наш сегодняшний event, написать какие-то комментарии, там Наталья Юрьевна напишет свои советы, вы можете, вот Катя, те книги, которые вы озвучили, Вера тоже там и так далее, и каждый, кстати, может...
Если кто-то не сказал вдруг сегодня, да, то можно написать.
Да, и что касается возможности заказать книги, Наталья Юрьевна их может доставить и в это нелегкое время, поэтому связывайтесь с ней. Там была ссылка на книжный магазин «Сова», ну или если...
Да, можно тоже там ВКонтакте что-нибудь написать,
да.
Ну, вернее, не что-нибудь, а что вам нужно, что бы вы хотели. Мы, конечно, никогда не... Да. Никогда, это, кстати, важно тоже, да, у нас новинки там все. Конкурировать с Озоном или Wildberries или Лабиринтом, естественно, мы никак почти не сможем. Кое-какие позиции, может быть, есть, какие-то нет. Но...
Там таких интересных книг не будет, я думаю.
Дело в том, что... как говорится, USP, Unique Selling Point, это консультации. То есть, конечно, вы просто приходите, много людей просто приходят и говорят, у меня девочка 5 лет, ни слова больше, как говорится, стопка растет до потолка и так далее. Разные совершенно, то есть у меня не меньше материала на дневник продавца или этого букселлера. Люди приходят и говорят, мы вот, или пишут там в чат, как найти книгу, если мы не знаем ни места, не знаем ни автора, ни про что она, ни название, только помним, где она в магазине у вас лежала. Можно найти? Не проблема вообще. Давайте поищем вместе и находим и такие, и всякие. То есть, конечно, вряд ли в Лабиринте с вами будут на эту тему так разговаривать или в Wildberries, но у нас можно. То есть посоветуем, покажем, расскажем. По возрасту, по полу, по интересам, почему угодно.
Да, но это
и такие чудеса.
Чем я пользуюсь постоянно, консультациями Натальи Юрьевны для самых разных возрастов ребят, вот, и еще раз повторю про вот эти вот потрясающие, конечно, книги плюс эпохи, которых я являюсь фанатом, то есть, да, самое главное, это консультация, которую можно получить, совет и какие-то новые вещи, которые вы узнаете. И желаю успехов нам всем, и Наталье Юрьевне в частности, с тем, чтобы ее магазин стал со временем также знаменит, как шекспировский магазин в Париже. Может быть, следующую встречу можно посвятить этому, кстати говоря, месту, этой локации, потому что я имела счастье там побывать, когда была в Париже несколько лет назад. Шекспировский книжный магазин, это тоже вот такое уникальное место. Одним словом, если вы захотите встречаться, давайте повторим, сделаем это еще в формате Book Club. Okay? Thank you very much. Thank you for joining. I wish you every success and please stay with Status Lingua. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Завершаем конференцию. Всем пока. Всех будем рады видеть. Пишите комментарии.